Game last night in Geneva. We're going to continue in that vein. Former Republic of Ireland defender Damien Delaney is on the line. Good morning, Damien. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
You were a bit downhearted, obviously. What are your thoughts overall before we get really into the nuts and bolts of the game? You know, a few hours out and a good night's sleep behind you after seeing that in Geneva. What are your first thoughts?
I don't think anyone could be the least bit surprised what we saw last night. If anyone was expecting anything different, well then you were dreaming. You know, Mick was going to go out there, keep it tight, try and stay in the game, and hopefully make a goal. As I said before the game, Mick's exactly where he wants to be now. He's got one big game in Dublin, and he's hoping that the crowd, one of those special nights at Geneva that we've had before, he's just hoping for one of them.
It's it's an interesting way of summing it up, Damien. Is that you're feeling that Mick McCarthy went the way you've described it because he was being conservative and maybe didn't trust his players to do something different, or that's all we're really capable of? Stick in there for as long as we can, try and hang in and hope for the best.
No, I don't mean that's what Mick McCarthy does. Mick McCarthy always had conservative teams. You know, he's played for percentages and just played hedged his bets really, and that's what he's done in this qualifying group. And he's got us right to the very, very brink. He had 2 chances to win a game of football, and now he's got 1 chance to win the game of football. So it's good though that like what I said before the game is that no one is complaining about where we're at in the scenario that's been created. We are where we are. I think what people are a little bit upset with is how we're getting there. You know, people, and it's a good thing. The Irish public is finally waking up. You know, maybe everybody's thinking, hang on a minute, maybe we are a little bit better than what we're showing. Maybe that the players that we have need to be given a chance. Some of the younger lads need to come in and play. But you're never going to get that with McCarthy in charge, because he has a certain way of playing the game, and you know that's why he got hired by the FAI.
Well, we have seen Mick McCarthy teams, Damien, play with a little bit of confidence on the ball in the past. We have seen midfield players in Mick McCarthy teams get on the ball, make themselves available for a pass it on, go again, try and play the riskier pass than maybe these players do at the moment, where they go down the channels or they play one over the top. So is it fair to put all that all on the shoulders of Mick McCarthy and blame it on his conservatism when we're looking at midfield players that we believe are capable of better and have their backs to the goalkeeper at goal kick time, or backs to their fullbacks when they're trying to bring the ball out? That can't all be on the manager, surely. Where's the moral courage? Where is the desire to be the guy that leads from the front, try and get the ball on the half turn, try and be the man that makes something happen?
Well, you have to have a system and a shape in place where the player who's on the ball needs to feel comfortable that he's going to have options. Every time I look at the midfield players, or any player for that matter, in the Ireland team, when he gets the ball, he's isolated, and other players are kind of showing from, they're not showing from, and that's not a lack of courage, it's just a lack of organisation on the training pitch. You know, you have to give players a structure, you have to give players the confidence that when they're in possession, there's plenty of options. Now, all those teams you spoke about that Mick McCarthy did well with, they're club teams. It's probably very, very difficult for Mick to, if he had those players every day, he probably would do a little bit more, but it's international, and he's only in the job for 2 years, so he's probably just chose the route of, you know what, I'm going to take the best route possible for the players that we have, that's going to get us to qualify. And he sees that route as just no risk and playing percentages.
We've got a tweet in from Mark Connolly, and I'll put it to you because it's pretty much on what you're discussing here, Damien. If you watch Northern Ireland play, on paper they've worse players than us, but under Michael O'Neill they play 100 times better, keep the ball down on the ground, so our players and managers need to take more responsibility. I assume you would subscribe to that theory.
Yeah. I think that's exactly it. You know, managers, when you're a player and you're going on the pitch, I got to know that if I'm playing centre back and the goalkeeper gives it to me, I've got a check down of options. What's the first pass that he wants me to make? Is it into my number 6? If that's not on, where's the next one? Is it my left back? He must give you 3, 4, maybe even 5 options. And then if all those options are cut off, then the manager will live with a channel ball or spinning the opposition round. So you have to give those players options, and too often I see, you know, the centre-backs on the ball and midfield players are kind of showing, because they know they should be showing, and they're kind of half showing for it, but they don't really want it, because they're in a position where if they get the ball, they're not sure what they're going to do with it. So you have to give, you know, so last night we played 3 in the middle of the park, and we played with wing backs, and Nick Steiner was very, very prominent in the first half, because James McLean is kind of 2v1. So you're creating your overload in the middle of the park, and that's where you have to keep possession. Otherwise, if they have possession, they're going to get it to where they're strongest, and that's on the flanks, because they're going to have 2v1 out there.
Well, when you describe players as half showing what they don't really want it, again, I'm not sitting here to defend Mick McCarthy because I think he got some things wrong last night, and successive Irish managers have got things wrong. But I don't see Jeff Hendrick, his performances, for example, as being the fault of the manager. I thought there were little 5-minute spells in the second half last night where Jeff showed why we are a different team when he gets on the ball and demands the ball. In my opinion, he's our best passer of the ball, and it's incredibly frustrating the long periods for which he goes missing in games of football. I would like to see him just, and he's one of several players, irrespective of what Mick is saying to them, get on the ball and try and make the effort. I wouldn't fault an Irish midfield player for losing it because he was out of options. I fault an Irish midfield player for getting it, turning and booting it over the top in the hope that it might get a little nick off somebody or a striker might get on the end of it.
But you see, that comes from a lack of confidence. You know, if everybody's on the same page, that's the most important thing for a football team. Everybody's got to be on the same page. If we're playing long ball, then no problem. Everybody's got to be ready. You know, big number 9, flood for bits, runners in behind. Or if we're going to pass the ball, when Jeff gets on it, he needs to feel very, very, very confident that when he gets the ball, he's going to have all the options in the world. And if one option is taken away, no problem, I'll go to my second one, my third one, my fourth one. And if that's not there, then we'll tolerate the long ball. But at the minute, you see players get on the ball and they just seem to hesitate, don't they? Because they're not sure where they want to be. And it's been like this way since Trapattoni 10 years ago. And as I said earlier, it's a good thing that the Irish public is waking up and they're starting to look at this now. Because before, maybe, definitely, you know, I think people are sick of watching Ireland play the way we play, because you see other countries with lesser resources and smaller populations and not as good players, not just the north of Ireland, but other countries that they can do it. So we're kind of getting frustrated, finding why can't we do it? And it's going to take a manager that's going to come in and with a brand new vision, and maybe it might take one qualifying campaign where we're building something special, because you can't turn water into wine overnight. It might take a little bit of time. Mick obviously isn't going to do that because he's only in the job for 2 years. He's almost just kind of like, get us to the Euros any way possible, because let's just do what we always do and pick the safe option and hedge our bets. But hopefully with Stephen Kenny coming in, I mean, you see what he's done with the 21s already. They're playing a nice brand of football. So he seems to have, changed that very, very quickly. And we're all hoping that maybe he can do that as well with the senior squad. Yeah,
I think that was always going to be an issue with the short-term nature of Mick's reappointment, in that it's not Mick's remit to develop the senior team for years to come.
It's not Mick's fault.
Yeah.
Mick, when he interviewed for the SAI, Mick would have went in and said, this is what I'm going to do and this is how I'm going to do it. And he's done exactly what he said he was going to do. He got us right to the qualification with 2 games to go. Win 1 game out of 2 games. And that's why you always hear Mick say, if someone had offered me that before the tournament, he'd have taken it. So Mick's doing what he said he was going to do, so it's not his fault. It lies with the people who hired him. Like anybody that goes in for a job interview, you're going to sit in front of your interviewer, you're going to say, this is what I'm going to do and this is how I'm going to do it. So Mick's going to apologise to nobody for what he's done. I think he's done a fantastic job because he's done what he said he was going to do. If people want something different, then you have to try a different way. We have to do something different. And that, I'm hoping, is Stephen Kenny.
Yeah, I think that's fair, Damien. We heard from Enda Stevens earlier in the show, and he told Richie that they had little or no time to work on this new formation they started the game with last night, 3-5-2. Now, we aren't in and around the camp, we don't know what the circumstances were, but that is the sort of thing that Martin O'Neill was routinely hammered for. Players going out, not having had much time to go through and drill a system into them to be able to play with the confidence, knowing that they had a body of work behind them, that everything had been prepared and brought through the routines. Yep. That seems to be the case last night, though.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, and that was routine on the man, where teams were just thrown together 45 minutes before, before they had to be into the UEFA delegate or the referees, whoever it was. Whereas I think Mick's tried something. He wanted to get Aaron Connolly because the kid shows such promise, but he needs to get in some support. So Mick chose that he wanted to play 2 up front, so he had to adjust the system. Now I know, the one time you go to 3-5-2, you had an absolute prototype right wing back in Matt Doherty. So, I mean, he must be sitting there to go, we've gone and played 3 at the back, we're playing with wing backs, and I'm still sitting on the bench. And Enda Stevens plays left wing back for his club, and he's playing left side of 3 centre backs. So it's kind of like, yeah, we do the players that fit it, but I don't know, man. It was a strange one for me, but Mick sacrificed a lot. I was very surprised he did that, very, very surprised. But look, he's tried something that hasn't worked, and we get another shot at it on Tuesday night. So I want to be positive, I want to be optimistic, and I want to say that, you know, it will be one of those special nights at Geneva, because let's face it, nobody's happy with how we are, how we got where we are, but we're here now, so let's just try and be positive and make it, you know, potentially one more game. And if we do win it, well, then we get a Euros next summer and the country will be happy.
Yeah, absolutely, we certainly would be. I want to go through what your thoughts are on the Danish game in a minute before we leave you go, but let's go through some of the people who were out on the pitch last night. Aaron Connolly got his first start. What did you make of his performance before he was taken off?
That was very, very difficult for him. I thought he done well with what he had. He held the ball up well, he worked hard, he ran channels. But again, it was just very, very difficult for him. You know, you need some semblance of possession, you need some semblance of sustained pressure on the Swiss. And we didn't get that at all. He was feeding off scraps. So even with two up front, I think it was very, very difficult for him, because even with two up front, we didn't play to our strengths of getting the ball to the front two through midfield. We just kind of hit, you know, there was a couple of times last night we had free kicks in our own half, and the two lads are kind of up against two centre-backs, and the free kick missed them. Like, they went through to the goalkeeper, or they went out for a throw-in, and I'm thinking, God, that is just like a wasted ball. So it's difficult for him, but hopefully on the Danish game in November, hopefully he'll be in better shape.
There was an interesting moment 8 minutes in, Damien, and I remember writing it down at the time. Long ball over the top from Seamus Coleman, who we'll get on to him in a moment. I don't think Seamus had one of his best nights, but it was into no man's land. Connolly was nowhere near it. And here's a 19-year-old making his full debut, throwing his hands into the air in frustration, because he knows what he can do if given something resembling decent service. What does that tell you about Aaron Connolly as a character? That this is his captain on the ball and he's making his debut and he's throwing the hands in the air. Is it a real sign of confidence that this guy knows what makes him tick, and that he's confident enough already in his own ability that he can make his point known to even the most senior man in the team?
I think it's probably more just frustration that, you know, he's making certain runs, probably the same runs he'll make at his club, or he's expecting the same type of possession or the same type of structure he has at his club, and all of a sudden now he's just getting nothing balls that he probably hasn't experienced before, just down the channels and just chase after them and try and turn it into something. But I wouldn't really blame Seamus for that either, because, you know, when you're playing a right wing back, all your options are infield, but obviously if you've got no options infield from your three midfield players, then you have one ball, and that's just down the sides.
Yeah, we won't have Seamus Coleman for that game against Denmark. Let's just take a listen to some thoughts from Stewie Byrne, who was on off-the-ball duty last night for the game, and on how Seamus Coleman played last night.
There's a lot of worrying signs there at the moment. In particular, I'd have to say our captain, Seamus Coleman, who looks, I have to say, a shadow of the player that we've seen play for Ireland. I mean, there's this bad side to his come into his game where he's getting involved an awful lot in the verbal stuff, you know, and he's trying to sort of wind certain players up as if to kind of get them frustrated. And for me, Richie, you either have that in your locker or you don't, and I don't think he's got that, and I think it's taking away from him as a player and what he's good at, and so I think he's been quite poor for us now in the last few games. But all in all, you know, in terms of...
That's not going to be an issue now next month, because
it's not going to be an issue,
be suspended, obviously, with Mark Doherty coming in. You would presume, anyway, he's going to be on the right-hand side of the defence.
Yeah, true.
Dave, what are your thoughts on Seamus? It's ordinarily a loss if you don't have a Seamus Coleman in your team, not only for his ability with the ball, but for the type of guy he is. I think most people have so much respect for him and what he's done in an Ireland jersey. Had he not received that red card, do you think there would have been a genuine debate over his place with Matt Doherty in this overall scheme of things in the build-up to the Denmark game?
I don't think there would have been a serious debate. No, I think a lot of people would have been asking for it. I think Seamus will probably be the first to admit that he hasn't been... let's first say he's not been bad, right? He's not been a terrible player for Ireland. He's been okay and he's been solid. He's defended reasonably well, but you expect so much more from him, and I don't think he's kind of played to the standard. And I actually really agree there that I see Seamus getting involved in a lot of like off the ball stuff, you know, really, you know, running into, if there's a bad tackle, he's the first one in there, and he's not that type of lad, you know. He's a different. I mean, listen, you can lead in many different ways, you know. Some people are like that, where they're confrontational or they're abrasive. I don't think Seamus is like that at all. Seamus is more a leader by doing, and I noticed that actually. earlier in the campaign, where he was just kind of getting involved in things. And I did remark to someone who was watching the game, and I goes, that's not like him now at all.
And what does that tell you, Damien? From your own experience, what does that tell you?
It probably a sign that he's struggling with his own performances, that he's getting very frustrated. I don't think Seamus is the type of lad that has been made captain and all of a sudden is trying to be a different character than what he actually is, you know. I think it's just more frustration in himself, because he set such high standards when he's played for Ireland and Everton, and I think he's just, I won't say he's off those standards, but he's not his usual enthusiastic self, you know, with the ball and things like that. So I think he's probably, that's a little bit of frustration, but more frustration at his own performance than anything else.
And on to Matt Doherty, he was given an opportunity in Gibraltar on a more an attacking right-sided player in front of Seamus Coleman. Mick McCarthy said it didn't go well. That was cut short pretty quickly. He got a chance the other night in Tbilisi, but he was on the left side, so some might say left back, right back, what's the difference? But I think anyone who plays that at a very high level will tell you there is a difference. This time he's going to get an opportunity, if he's fit, to play in the position he's most comfortable in.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that if so, you like look at someone like Glenn Whelan playing, you know, we don't really have any viable option. So Glenn's kind of going. That's why you have to play Glenn, and he's probably going to play, you know, when he just played outside 2 games in 4 days. But when you look at Seamus, you do have a viable option in Matt Doherty. So I think that's why people are kind of going, hang on a minute, is it time to give this guy a chance now? And I think it probably is. Obviously, he's definitely going to get his chance. But with the system Mick played last night, I was very, very surprised. But that, you know, you had an actual Premier League right wing back playing, and you've gone to 3 at the back. So I'm looking forward to seeing him play right back. It's probably, I want to say, it's a blessing in disguise, but look, it's forced Mick's hand now with him being fit, obviously. So I'll definitely be looking forward to seeing him against Denmark. Okay,
on the Denmark game, so is there anything that gives you confidence we can put in a performance that will be good enough to beat Denmark? Where will the goal or goals come from that will see us win that game?
Definitely, I think we're more than capable of putting off one result. Mick McCarthy is definitely capable of putting a team together that can win one game. I mean, you know, it is a cup final, and Mick is definitely capable of motivating the lads, of getting them believing that, you know, we can get a result. No, I'm not going to say for a second that we're going to go to the Viva and play Denmark off the pitch, and all of a sudden we're going to have 60% possession and create loads of chances. We're not. It's going to be very, very similar to what it's been. Except he's just hoping that the extra motivation that the night will bring, the you know, those cold night that's going to be at the Viva, he's just hoping that will drag something out of some of the players that we haven't seen before, or haven't seen in this qualifying campaign, i.e. a Germany at home or a Wales away type of performance. But 6 goals in 7 games, Damien. 3 of those against Gibraltar, 2 of them from set pieces. Outside of a Shane Duffy header or a Conor Howrahan free kick, are you confident at all that we will create chances from open play that will see us unlock the Danes? No, I don't think we will at all. But I think that we might get a corner and Shane Duffy might stick his head on it. Or I'm thinking that the referee's decision might go our way in terms of getting a penalty or a Danish red card or something like that. So hope for the best is pretty much our method. I agree, yeah, I think it is. I don't think for a second we're going to go there and have 60% possession against the Danes. I think we're going to go there, we're going to play 4-5-1 essentially. We're going to sit in, we're going to defend deep, and we're going to counter-attack, and we're going to wait for set plays. And hopefully, with the atmosphere that will be there, that will come off. But I think that's genuinely what we're looking at. And if anyone is expecting anything different, and if anyone expected anything different last night against the Swiss, well then, you're dreaming. Finally, Damien, outside of Matt Doherty, who we know will come in, what other changes would you make for the Denmark game? Do you bring Conor Howrahan back in? Do you look at James McLean's place in the team, for example? Do you absolutely start Connolly again? I would start Connolly again, yeah. I would. I'd probably go with the team that played the second half, minus Seamus, obviously. The team that played the second half last night would probably be the team that I would go with. So you'd replace McLean with Callum O'Dowda? I know McLean finished the game, but would you bring O'Dowda in for Collins, or would you make a change on the wing? I think I would leave it as it finished last night. I think that's probably what Mick will go with. It's probably the safest. I think the one thing, and probably the main reason why James McLean plays, is because defensive diligence. When Ireland don't have the ball, he does run, and that's one thing you can never level at James. He will absolutely put a shift in, he will track back, he will double up with his full back, and I think that's why Mick will always play him. And in a team where you're giving up 70-75% of the ball, you need people that are willing runners. You know, you will need people that will track back and double up with his full back. So that's why I believe James McLean will play, and obviously his legs on the break, and you're hoping that James will get an extra 10% out of himself, because you know the occasion that's going to be in it. He's the type of lad that will kind of feed off that energy. So I believe that James will play. Yeah.
Brilliant stuff, Damien. Thanks very much.
No worries, man.